Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to look at how chatbot-based applications can be created using AgilePoint's integration with Amazon Lex. Amazon Lex is an AWS service for building conversational interfaces for applications using voice and text. Amazon Lex uses same conversational engine that powers Amazon Alexa. Amazon Lex provides the deep functionality and flexibility of natural language understanding and automatic speech recognition so that you can build highly engaging user experiences. Compared to some of the other bot platforms I have worked with, I found that Amazon took a more non-programming approach for creating chatbots, and whatever minimal code was needed was in Amazon Lambda function for fulfillment of order, and that too was pretty much boilerplate and simple. All in all, in my personal opinion, it looked like a strong application platform for building bots, which are of simple to medium complexity. I'm going to step by step build one of the bots I have previously created on Microsoft Bot Framework and covered in one of my previous blog posts, and you could see how it can be done mostly with point and click configuration. So with that, I'm going to switch to my AWS console over here, and I'm going to click on Amazon Lex. If it is not visible, you can always either search over here or go to services and look for Lex over here as well. But since it's already in my recently used ones, I'm going to click on Amazon Lex. Now I already have the Lobbench bot built over here. I'm going to create a dummy one for now, and so that you can see step by step what it took to build this bot. So I'm going to go ahead and click create. It asks you whether you want to use one of the sample bots or you want to create a new one. So I'm going to say I want to create a new one. I'm going to call it Lobbench demo. Now if you want to enable voice interaction, you can pick the kind of voice uh, you would like,
Hello,
and
my
these are
name
the
is
standard
Sally.
ones defined by Amazon. So I'm going to use one of these. What's your session timeout? So I'm going to say 5 minutes. And whether you want to create an IAM role, so I'll leave it as default, and I'm going to mark this requirement as no, the Children Online Privacy Protection Act, because my bot is not going to be subject to that. And go ahead and click create. Now first it says okay, you it gives you some of the quick highlights that what are the various terminologies used, like there is intents. Under intents are triggered by utterances, things which you would have spoken and which triggers one of the intents. And then there are slots where the values are stored, and prompts are the questions the bot is going to ask you, and your response is going to be stored in the slots. Okay, so let's start by creating a new intent. Now I'm given few choices over here. Create intent, I can import an intent or use an existing intent as well. So I'm going to say that I'm going to use one of the built-in intents called cancel. I'm going to just call it cancel demo. I can go ahead and change it a little bit. I'm going to just keep it as is, because I'm going to define two custom intents as well. The first thing user might do with my bot would type some kind of a interactive message, like say hi, hello, something of that sort, so that to start the interaction. So I'm going to just say go ahead and create a greeting intent. And what are the sample utterances which will trigger this? Now I can keep adding terminologies later on as well to make it more intelligent, but right now I'm going to just add some sample terminology that if a user says hey, hello, hi, then kick off this intent. Now I can also specify that if I wanted to do any validation of the user inputs, I could use a Lambda function over here. I'm not going to do that for this intent. I'm going to use it for the other one, which is the main phone consultation intent. Whether I want to define any slots over here, for this one, I won't be defining one. So all I want to do is when somebody says hello, I want to show him a prompt that what options he has within the bot. So I'm going to say, okay, add a message, or I can say enable a response card. I can do that as well. I'm going to do one of these. So I'm going to say add a message, and I'm going to say welcome to Wax Solar, which is my fictitious company. And in the response card, I want to show them a card where they have 3 buttons with various options of what they can do within my bot. So I'm going to provide it an image URL. Just say welcome to Waxo Law Firm as the title. Subtitle would be, do you have a question for US immigration? And the 3 buttons I want on this. So I'm going to say phone consultation is my first button. Talk to support is the second button. And exit is the third button. Now remember, I have a cancel intent, so the value I kept it as cancel, so that other intent would have got triggered as well. And I just want 3 buttons over here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click save. So that's it. My greeting intent is now done. Now next, I'm going to define my legal consultation intent. That's a custom one as well. So I'm going to give it a name. And what are the sample utterances? So remember, one of them I have already specified that when the button is selected, it's called phone consultation. But I'm going to define few more. User might type as well. So I'm going to just say, if user says contact lawyer, discuss with lawyer, talk to lawyer, those are some of the samples. Phone consultation, the one which comes from my button on the greeting dialog, or I want to schedule a phone consultation. Next, it would ask me, do I want to validate any of the inputs provided by the user? I'm going to say yes or no. I'm going to use it later on. I'm going to show that to you. But first, let's start defining some of the questions the bot might want to ask the user to gather more information. Now, first question I want to ask is, what is your consultation duration? For how long do you want the consultation to be done? Now I can select one of the pre-existing consultation types. I can do that or define my own as well. So Amazon has done a good job of defining some of the common ones like phone numbers and emails. I could use some of those, or I can define my custom ones. I've already have a few custom ones, but I'm going to create a new one so that you can see. So I'm going to just call it consultation duration demo, and whether it accepts any kind of values, or do I want to restrict it to certain values. So I'm going to say I want to restrict it to certain values. 20 minutes for $59, 40 minutes for $99. I'm going to give it a user-friendly text in a minute as well, but these are just the values. Now I can save the slot type, or I can just say add slot to intent. So what it did was, if you go to the slots, it already added that thing for me over here, and it gave a default name which I don't like, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to call it duration maybe. let's type here and say duration, and let's ask a question. So I'm going to just say, please select the consultation duration would be the question. Now I'm going to further refine it because I want to show it as button so that user doesn't make a mistake. Else how would he know that it's only having three possible values? So I'm going to click on this gear button over here. Now I can define multiple prompts as well, so I can ask the same question in a different way every time, and I can define how many times a user can retry. I'm going to leave it as 2 because I'm going to show him anyways a dialog where he can click the buttons. So that's the advantage of putting the dialog. So I'm going to say, here is the image, title, the question shown on the dialog, and the user-friendly text. So I'm going to just say 20 minutes and bind it to one of my values which I just now defined in that collection. That's what I want to send to the AgilePoint engine. So that's it. I've got this configured as my first slot. So that's the first question my bot is going to ask. Now the second question it is going to ask is about the lawyer. Now again, I don't want the system or the user to make a mistake. So I'm going to define a new slot type called available lawyers as well. Now I might even bring this back from a dynamically from a backend system using Lambda, but I'm going to define a static one for now. And again, I'm going to restrict it to certain values. I'm going to define 3 lawyers. And again, going to say add slot to intent. Now this time I'm going to call that slot as lawyer. So if I again go back to slot, double click on it and say lawyer. And the question I'm going to ask is, please select a lawyer. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I don't want users to make a mistake. So click the gear icon over here. Provide the image URL. Title. The button title, display name of that user, and his internal name. And click save. So my second slot question or slot is also defined. I'm going to also make it required. Now next I'm going to add few more. So I'm going to ask user for the first name. Now I don't have to define a custom one for the first name. I can just say it will be called first name and it will be of type Amazon US first name. For common ones, as I said, Amazon has already defined few of them. So I'm going to just say add. Similarly, I'm going to ask for last name. Email. address is the type. Primary phone. So select type phone number. Time to call. So what time we want the user to call the lawyer. I'm going to select time. And the last one, your case description. Now, I want it to be a literal text, and unfortunately, at this point of time, I don't see a literal text kind of a slot type available out of the box. So what I did was I defined my own call case description, and this time what I did was I left it as something which can accept any kind of text. So let's go ahead and actually define one. So I'm going to just call it case description demo. And I'll leave it as expand value. That's all what I did. Now I need to give it a sample, some sample text before it gets saved. And as you can see, it's over here. Let's go ahead and call it description. And the question would be, please enter case description and max 1000 characters. So that's it. My intents or slots are defined, and I have also marked all of them as mandatory. Next, I can say that okay, once the user is done with all these questions, the bot can ask it for a confirmation, and what kind of a message do you want to show in the confirmation. So I've drafted a custom message, is this your selection, and I show each value to him. So a label and the slot type. So if you see, the slot types are coming in from here. Whatever you put in those curly braces would show the value would be auto printed. So I'm going to just go ahead and say, see if your selection is correct or not, and whether you agree to the terms and conditions. If the user says no, I want to cancel it, he can say yes or no. If he says no, I want to just show him a message that okay, it won't be scheduled. Next, what I can do is I can have my fulfillment done as well, and this is where you would typically use a lambda function. I'm going to go ahead and select the lambda function over here. Now, if I leave it as return parameter to client, it would just print out a message. But I'm going to, I've already written a lambda function over here. This is the AWS lambda function. As I said, it was pretty much boilerplate, hardly few dozens of lines of code written in C#, and I had uploaded it to AWS. All it does is it validates my inputs and also makes a call to AgilePoint to kick off a workflow and pass these parameters. I'm going to go ahead and select that one. And since I'm not just using it for fulfillment, but I'm also going to use it for validating some of my input values, I can use the same class over here as well. So that's about it. As you see, apart from that lambda part, there was no coding required. Once I'm done with this, I can quickly build the first. Let's save it. And let's double check if anything else had to be done. So no, we are done with this. So I'm going to go ahead and click build. Now before I build, I can do also a couple of other things. I can go to settings. I can define an alias as well, that in production always, or maybe dev, always use the latest. In production, use version number 2 or version number 3. I could do those kind of things. And on what channel, so let's go ahead and click plus over here. And on what channel do you want to publish this? Now I'm going to use Slack for my demo. So if you click on Slack, these are the channels which it supports out of the box. But you can actually write your, using the Amazon Lex API, you can write your own channel as well. I'm going to use Slack, and it has a pretty detailed steps of instructions on how to configure these values and add it to your Slack. So I'm going to leave it. You can just click on learn more and you can fill up this section. Go ahead and click build. Now build typically might take few seconds. Now what it does is, as soon as it is built, it also shows me a test bot window where I can go ahead and type my commands and test my bot before I published it. I'm going to skip that since I'm going to anyways do that from my Slack interface. So now with that, I'm going to actually show you the application this bot is going to trigger. So if I go switch back to AgilePoint, here is the application which I'm going to use. So once user has provided all the information, it makes a call into AgilePoint. It prepares it shows an e-form where user can provide the credit card information and process the payment. Payment goes and gets authorized through PayPal. If the payment is authorized, it sends a confirmation message on your Slack window in the same chat. Also schedules the consultation, and once the consultation is done, it collects the feedback from the user as well. If the payment failed for some reason, it goes to the resolve payment step. A support person is assigned to work with the user to get the payment details corrected and reprocessed. So that's my workflow. I'm going to mainly use the Slack channel. So as you can see, I have an app over here called Lobbench. I'm going to use that. So as you can see, I typed hi. It's asked me a question. I'm going to say, okay, I want to schedule a phone consultation. It says for how many minutes? 20 minutes. With which lawyer? I'm going to pick John Smith. What's your first name? Your last name? Please enter your email address. I'm going to enter some dummy email address. Your phone number. Best time to reach you. And because I selected the content type of these slots, if I enter a wrong value, it would do the validation and tell me that this is not a right value and prompt me to re-enter it. But I'm going to just enter the right value for now. It shows me the summary of what I had entered, and I say, okay, yeah, this looks good. Now this is where it calls the Amazon Lambda thing and says, okay, your payment instructions are being prepared. This might take up to 15 seconds to process. So immediately an AgilePoint process got kicked off. It created the payment link for me. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And as you can see over here, everything which I entered over there on my Slack got transferred. So it's 20 minutes John Smith and all the details which I had entered. And on the next tab, I have my payment section. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and enter the information. Just some dummy value. dummy credit card number, and I'm going to select some year over here and go ahead and click submit. Now let's go back to our Slack window, and within next few seconds I get your payment has been processed successfully and confirmation receipt has been sent to the email address you provided. Lawyer will be calling you at a scheduled time. So as you can see within the Slack window, I did everything. Just for the payment, it posted me back the link on the same Slack window where I clicked on it. It opened an e-form. I immediately put my credit card information, and within the same Slack session, it gave me a confirmation message as well. Now if I go back to AgilePoint, click on search, and look at all the running processes. This is the one which got created just now. And as you can see, it actually got kicked off, and this is what sent me back the information. And if I go to my form variables, you would see all the selection and the entries which I had made. Thanks a lot for your time.